Welcome back. This is our 8th video in the series dedicated to shedding light on the timeless classic, How to Win Friends and Influence People. Today, we'll delve into part 4, focusing on how to be a leader without offending or arousing resentment. In this chapter, we're introduced to the principle of beginning with praise and honest appreciation. This isn't about flattery or empty compliments, but sincere recognition of the other person's qualities, achievements, or efforts. It's about seeing the good in others and acknowledging it genuinely. To illustrate, imagine you're a manager needing to address a team member's performance issue. You could start by saying, "I really appreciate the effort you put into your work. Your dedication is evident and it's something I truly value." This sets a positive tone right off the bat and primes the individual to be more receptive to your ensuing feedback. Or picture being a parent having to talk to your child about their grades slipping. You might open with, "I'm really proud of how hard you work in school and how you always strive to do your best." This approach not only affirms your child's efforts, but also demonstrates your understanding and empathy, making them more open to hear your concerns and advice. It's human nature to be more receptive to criticism or suggestions for improvement when they're preceded by genuine praise. By starting with appreciation, you're effectively making the other person feel valued and understood before moving on to the areas they need to work on. It sets the stage for a constructive and respectful conversation instead of an uncomfortable confrontation. In essence, the principle of starting with praise and honest appreciation is about fostering a positive environment where growth and improvement are encouraged, not imposed. It's about leading with empathy and understanding, recognizing that everyone has strengths to be celebrated and areas to improve upon. Remember, the key principle in this chapter is to always start with genuine praise and appreciation. It's all about setting the right tone for a positive and productive conversation. Moving on to the next chapter, we learn the significance of addressing people's mistakes indirectly. Now, this is where the art of diplomacy comes into play. You see, nobody likes to be told they're wrong. It's just human nature. But how can we address this issue without hurting anyone's pride or causing resentment? The answer lies in the subtle art of indirect criticism. Imagine being at work and seeing a colleague make a mistake. You could march up to them and point out their error, but that might lead to embarrassment and resentment. So instead, consider a more delicate approach. Maybe you could say something like, "I've noticed that this method has been causing some issues. Have you considered trying it this way?" This not only highlights the problem, but also provides a potential solution, all without making the person feel attacked. This approach is not about sugarcoating or avoiding the issue. It's about respect and understanding. It fosters an environment where people feel safe to learn and grow, without fear of harsh criticism. By focusing on the problem and not the person, you're encouraging dialogue and cooperation, not defensiveness. Let's consider another scenario. Say you're a parent and you see your child neglecting their homework. Instead of scolding them, you could say, "I was thinking about how much you love drawing. Do you think you could apply that same passion to your studies?" This approach not only acknowledges their interest, but also gently redirects their attention to their responsibilities. So you see, the principle of calling attention to mistakes indirectly is about fostering an environment of respect and understanding. It's about encouraging growth and learning without causing embarrassment or resentment. The takeaway here is, when pointing out a mistake, do it subtly and indirectly. This approach maintains dignity and encourages cooperation rather than defensiveness. In the 3rd chapter, we're introduced to a powerful technique for criticism, discussing your own mistakes before pointing out someone else's. This principle is all about empathy, humility, and the willingness to place ourselves in the shoes of the other person. It's not about us being perfect, but about acknowledging that we are all human, and we all make mistakes. Imagine you're a team leader, and a member of your team made an error in a project. Instead of directly pointing out their mistake, you might say something like, "I remember when I first started working on these kinds of projects, I would often overlook certain details, just like what happened in this scenario." This approach does 2 things. First, it shows the other person that you understand their situation because you've been there before. It's not about you being superior, but about you being a fellow traveler on the journey of learning and growth. Second, It makes the other person more receptive to your criticism because it's framed in the context of your own mistakes. It's like saying, I've been there, I've done that, and I've learned from it, and now I want to help you learn from it too. It's a powerful way to establish rapport and foster a culture of continuous learning and improvement. Let's take another example. Suppose you're a parent trying to teach your child the importance of honesty. Instead of saying, you should always tell the truth, you could share a story about a time when you lied and faced the consequences. It's a more effective way to convey the message because it shows your child that you're not just preaching from a pedestal of perfection, but sharing wisdom born from personal experience. To sum up, before you critique someone else, examine and discuss your own shortcomings. This makes your criticism more palatable, showing that you're on the same team. It's not about belittling or demeaning the other person, but about fostering mutual respect and understanding. Remember, we're all in this together, learning and growing. One mistake at a time. Now that we've covered the first 3 chapters of Part 4, let's do a quick recap. Chapter 1 taught us the importance of beginning with praise and honest appreciation. It's about setting a positive tone from the outset, even when we need to address a problematic issue. The principle here is to make the other person feel valued and respected. It's like serving a sandwich, where the bread is your positive feedback and the filling is the criticism. Always remember, a spoonful of honey can catch more flies than a gallon of vinegar. Moving on to Chapter 2, we learned how to call attention to people's mistakes indirectly. The principle here is to avoid direct criticism that could potentially hurt the other person's feelings or pride. Instead, make use of subtle suggestions or questions to guide them towards recognizing and rectifying their own mistakes. This approach not only promotes self-awareness, but also fosters a better relationship built on respect and understanding. Chapter 3 emphasized the significance of talking about our own mistakes before criticizing the other person. This principle is about showing humility and acknowledging that we are all humans who make mistakes. When we admit our own faults first, it makes it easier for the other person to accept their mistakes and be open to improvement. Remember, no one is perfect, and we are all works in progress. In essence, these 3 chapters teach us how to be effective leaders by changing people without giving offense or arousing resentment. It's about using tact, empathy, and humility to inspire change and influence others positively. As we wrap up this 8th video in our series, remember to practice these principles in your daily interactions. And don't forget, if you found this video helpful, like, share, and subscribe for more insights. Until next time, keep winning friends and influencing people. We've just scratched the surface of the wisdom packed in How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book is a treasure trove of insights and advice that can help us become better communicators, leaders, and people. But as with all things, it isn't knowledge alone that brings change, it's action. So let's get into action. Starting today, let's be intentional about applying these principles in our day-to-day interactions. Whether it's beginning with praise and honest appreciation, calling attention to mistakes indirectly, or talking about our own mistakes before criticizing others, each of these principles can make a big difference in how we connect with and influence the people around us. Imagine the possibilities. A conversation that could have turned into an argument ends up being a constructive discussion. A criticism that could have put someone on the defensive becomes an opportunity for growth. A mistake that could have damaged a relationship becomes a stepping stone to a stronger bond. These are the kinds of transformations that these principles can lead to. But don't just take our word for it. Try them out for yourself. And we'd love to hear about your experiences. Which principle did you find most helpful? Were there any challenges you faced in applying them? What difference did they make in your interactions? Share your stories, insights, and questions in the comment section below. We're all here to learn and grow together, and your experiences can be a source of inspiration and learning for all of us. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight. It takes practice, patience, and persistence. But every step, no matter how small, brings us closer to becoming the kind of people we aspire to be. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video. Share it with your friends who might find it useful, and subscribe to our channel to keep learning versatile skills. We appreciate your support. See you in the next video.